Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to break down why Doug Demuro couldn't be any more wrong about the Lexus LX 570. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Lexus and Toyota news, and I'll see you on the other side. Doug's recent video, the 2019 Lexus LX 570, is a $95,000 disappointment, has got tons of views, quite a few likes, quite a few dislikes, more than normal, and the reason is because it's kind of a disappointment. Not the vehicle, his video. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend jumping over to his page, checking it out. I have a ton of respect for Doug. He is huge on YouTube. He brings a lot of content to everyone who loves cars. I guarantee there's not a car enthusiast that's been to YouTube that hasn't seen his videos. He just provides a ton of content out there for the world and for car fans in general. But that doesn't mean he's right about everything, and it's more fun sometimes just to find ways to disagree with him, which is quite an establishment for Doug in his own right, to be such an immense presence on the YouTube that people can make reaction videos to his wildly successful car review videos. There's already been one done on him before on the LS 400. The guy had an incredible video about how Doug Demuro was not even close to telling the full story of that car. Now, I'm not going to go that much in depth about the LX today. I don't have one on me right now to be able to jump into it and to show you each little quirk and feature and the things about it. But I will be able to tell you about it, show you pictures, and I feel like I've been digressing a little bit too long, so let's just jump into the first thing that I disagree with. But before I do that, I will talk about the things I do agree with Doug. It's not like he said everything in this video is wrong or inaccurate. No, there's plenty of things I agree with him in this video, good and bad. Some of those being, I have a list here, and I'm going to be looking at my phone a lot because everything's written in there. The things I agree with, it's old and overdue for replacement. Bad gas mileage, outdated infotainment, no panel roof. The good things I agree with, which are the immense quality and fit and finish, the materials that are in there, reliability is second to none, great customer service. That's reliability and customer service he mentions is kind of unanimous throughout the whole Lexus lineup, not just for this vehicle. And he really liked the climate control for the front and the back. I couldn't agree more. I think it's done pretty well in the LX. So the first thing that I'm going to disagree with here, and this is a subjective thing, which is perfectly fine, but the grille. He thinks the grille is, he quotes, absolutely ridiculous looking. And then later on in the video, he says it's the ugliest car on the road today. That's extremely far-fetched. I can think of a lot of cars that are uglier that are currently in production. And then he complains about the fog lights. I mean, if you got to find something to complain about, sure, complain about the fog lights, whatever. That's not a big deal. I do understand the grille. The Lexus grille, the modern spindle grille, is very polarizing. People are going to usually hate it, love it. Very few people don't have an opinion on it, and that's exactly what Lexus wanted. They wanted people to have an opinion on it. But if you don't like this grille that's been on it since 2016, guess what? Guess what you can do? You can order a 2020 with the sport package that changes the grille across the world. This is called the LX 570S, and it changes the front bumper, the front grille, adds a couple things. You're going to have newer interior, such as I think you're going to get that wide interior that we saw in the Inspiration series. But anyways, if you don't like the grille, I'll put a picture of the LX 570S/sport package that will be available in the 2020 model. If you jump to 428 in the video, he harps on the gauge cluster and he goes right to Audi, saying Audi has a fully customizable LCD. You know, pretty much so does Mercedes. I've been in some very brand new 2020 Mercedes lately. They do the same thing where you can put the Google Maps on there and things like that. He harps on the tiny screen and the compass, and he says an Audi A4 is better for $40K. Well, you know what? The Lexus UX, which is an entry price of $32K, has a better, more up-to-date screen than the LX. But that's not the point. The point is ultimate dependability, reliability. He just says it's downright unacceptable at this price point, which it does need to be updated, but it is extremely functional. Physical dials, he says, shows its age. And he said fixed gauges are out. I couldn't disagree more. Couldn't disagree more. I think physical gauges, I don't think are ever going to go away. I hope they don't. I mean, the only way they would go away is with fully electric cars. Physical gauges are simple. They're probably easy to fix. What happens if an LCD breaks? Well, it's going to be thousands of dollars to replace that LCD. A gauge, it's going to be a lot less expensive to fix something like that. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them at all. But anyways, let's move on. Climate Concierge. If you go to 611 in his video, he talks about how the seats are tied to it. Well, guess what? The $38,000 UX has the steering wheel tied to it, meaning it has an automatic function for the steering wheel to be linked to the automatic climate control. So he does like that feature, but he doesn't even realize that a $34,000 Lexus UX has a more advanced version where the steering wheel is tied to it. Where in the LX you have to press the button to manually turn it on, and in like the ES and the UX, it has two different heated steering wheel settings, a high and a low. Here's a couple things that Doug doesn't even know about. It's in the video, but he just didn't notice it. Is the dials for the multi-terrain select are extremely sensitive and malleable. I don't know what the right word is. They're damage prone. They get scratches and scuffs on them, and it's terrible. I don't know how Lexus has let this, the scratch dials be in there. Now, this is not Doug saying this. This is me saying this. The vehicle that he's in had just over 5,000 miles, and they're already scratched. They just looked like a 15-year-old vehicle at that point already. And then the shifter knob. He complains about the location of the shifter knob. I don't care that much. You can reach around and get to the cup holders. He's like, get to the way of the cup holders. Well, guess what? It's the shifter knob. Over time, it likes to twist. I've seen it on very low mile LXs. Just the top knob becomes off center and it looks really, really cheap. And that's one of those are the two things that I gripe on, that the quality isn't up to Lexus standards. Everything else in the vehicle, 110%, even though the infotainment is maybe a little bit behind, which we'll get into right now. If you go to 920 in his video, the remote touch interface, he quotes, or I quote him, "Can't believe Lexus is still doing this to its customers." Well, guess what? They're not doing it to their customers. People choose the vehicle despite its outdated system. Why do they do that? Well, of course, reliability, quality, customer service, etc. But he says Volvo, Audi, Land Rover, Mercedes, massive step ups. He talks about zooming in. He focuses on zooming in, trying to find Hoovie's garage in Wichita, Kansas. No one zooms out or zooms in on a GPS. They just enter the address. No one zooms out and then zooms in. I do that on my computer for Google World, where I'm like, ooh, what's this? What's that? No one's going to do that in their car. So that point's thrown out. No one zooms out and zooms in to try to find a place. That doesn't make any sense. You put the address in. And even if you wanted to zoom out, let's say on a Mercedes, on the new touchscreen that they have, when you zoom out, it's so sensitive that it also twists the map when you're zooming out or zooming in. It twists it. And that's infuriating because you just want your map to be fixed due north, right? Well, at least I do. And it twists the map when you try to zoom in and out. So just because newer systems are definitely more advanced and have higher resolution and more detail doesn't mean they have a better interface. And this one drives me crazy. So he says you have to highlight the scroll button to scroll. That is completely false. There's a dedicated button on the LX. It has an arrow up and an arrow down right next to the remote touch interface that allows him to scroll up and scroll down without moving the cursor at all. He also talks about, and I'm still in the remote touch interface, there's just so much. BMW and Mercedes-Benz allow you to draw a letter. I could see how that's kind of cool. I don't know if it's how well it works. He seems to think it works really well. To me, it kind of reminds me of like an Etch-a-Sketch or something, which is kind of cool. There's nothing wrong with selecting a letter. And he says sometimes it's too sensitive. Well, you can dial back the sensitivity of the cursor if you can't control it very well. There is a learning curve to it, just like in any vehicle with its infotainment settings. There is a learning curve. So you can dial back the sensitivity to more easily select the individual letter or number for an address. Before we move on, he says, I quote, "Lexus has wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on this. They should get into a new Mercedes or Audi, look how it's correctly done, and change this immediately. I have been in a 2020 Audi. I've been in a 2020 Mercedes, several of them actually, and I wouldn't say they're better. Yes, they're prettier. Yes, they're higher resolution. They're better screens. They're different interfaces. I would say sometimes they're harder to work with. And then the new Mercedes, they give you a lot of options. They give you a remote touch interface. They give you what I call little nipples on the steering wheel. They give you the touchscreen, which in my opinion is the easiest to use. And the Audi does a lot of touchscreen stuff as well. I would say they're better quality screens, resolutions, animations, but not necessarily with the interface. They're all fairly similar, and there is a learning curve to every single auto manufacturer's setup. Even a Tesla or let's say a Volvo that only use touchscreen, there's still a learning curve because you have to learn where everything is in that touchscreen, in the menus, etc. Okay, going back to that zoom, the scrolling button. At 13 minutes in the video, he compliments the National Weather app where you can look at weather in different cities. But he can't select other cities, and they're listed in alphabetical order because he thinks you have to move the cursor to scroll down. Well, you don't. You just press the scroll button. That's a physical button, right? And you can scroll down. But he doesn't realize that there's extra buttons right next to his finger the entire time to do that function. At 20 minutes and 5 seconds, he says a Navigator gets 20% more power and it has 20% better fuel economy. Yes, I would say it does. And that is something that Lexus probably needs to step up. For the price point, it would be nice to get something around 450 to 500 horsepower. It would be nice. But you know what's also nice? Not having to worry about a turbo or intercoolers go out. So you can get more power, but you're going to reduce your durability, reliability, or you can boost the heck out of something. I say just put a supercharger on the 5.7 liter, but you know what? Your fuel economy is going to go down even more, which is one of the downfalls of the LX. At 22 minutes and 22 seconds in the video, as he's summing up the vehicle after his test drive, he says, biggest disappointment car I've reviewed this year. How can this car be disappointing? He didn't really like the ride of it. It was a little too soft for him. To me, when I'm riding in the LX, I feel like a king. He does mention that you feel like a king of the road. You feel like royalty when you're driving the LX. Now, I have driven some Range Rovers, and I do like how they ride. They have a very heavy feel to them, but it's not as soft or as comfortable as the LX, not even close. They would say they're very similar in quietness. I don't understand how it can be the biggest disappointment because it doesn't have the most modern screens to wow and dazzle you. I mean, that's ultimate to me. He's like, well, if you're going to pay $95,000 for it, you should get a nicer screen. Yes and no. I mean, this vehicle is going to hold its value better than any other large luxury SUV out there. No doubt. It's going to hold its value better. It's going to hold its integrity better, meaning it's not going to fall apart. You're not going to have to be in the shop all the time. You can do routine maintenance on this. Even then, you don't even really have to do routine maintenance on it. Lexus is probably like, do routine maintenance so we can make money off of the services. That's all fine and dandy. If you want your $95,000 Lexus to have a perfect Carfax on it, then yes, take it every 5,000 miles. Make sure you do every 10,000 miles and every 30,000 miles. So the 30, the 60, the 90, those are pretty big services. But every 10,000 miles, especially for oil changes. Every 5,000 miles, I think it's kind of overrated. But back on topic here. He said he reviewed the Land Cruiser, which is its sibling. They're based on the same platform, same motor, different transmissions. Similar, no, they don't really have a similar suspension, but it's the same shell, essentially. The LX just has way more luxury, way more comfortable, way more refined. And he said he liked the Land Cruiser for $85,000, but he's like, no, this more advanced, more luxurious, more features, more everything. LX, no, I'm not going to pay an extra 10 grand or less. Sometimes it's even closer in price than 10 grand. He doesn't see the value in a $95,000 Lexus over an $85,000 Toyota. I would say the majority of you would see that value, and the majority do. Why? Because the Land Cruiser is going to be canceled because it doesn't sell. The LX is going to stay. It's going to stay, but it vastly outsells the Land Cruiser. It's not even close because people are like, oh, wait, it's less than 10 grand. I'm already spending this much money. I'll get the Lexus that has, the air ride suspension. Oh, I get a heads-up display. Oh, I get Mark Levinson sound system. Oh, I get a cool box. Oh, I get all these extra things that I can get on the Lexus, and it rides better, etc. And better customer service. It's totally worth it when you're spending $90K to go $5K more and get the LX. That's why it sells so much better. For him, he said he doesn't see the value in the Lexus. It's there. It's absolutely there. I've driven the Land Cruiser back to back with an LX. Both were 2019 models. The Land Cruiser felt almost like a Sequoia. Yes, it was a little bit more quiet. The materials were better. But in terms of the ride, it felt more like a truck. The LX feels like an LS on stilts. It's so smooth, so quiet, so buttery. The brakes were great on it. The brakes on the Land Cruiser were, I would call, not good. All right, the brake feel anyways. The steering was way smoother, way more buttery on the LX, not on the Land Cruiser. So LX drives and rides way better than the Land Cruiser. If you're going to be taking it across the country off-road, get the Land Cruiser, right? Maybe get a used one because it's $85,000. And then he sums it up at the very end of his test drive. He said it's too far behind for the money. Get a Range Rover, get a Navigator, get a G-Wagon. Don't even consider one of these. You won't like it. That's exactly what he said. How can you say that? I just don't understand how you say it. Am I biased towards Lexus? Absolutely. Absolutely. But just to say don't even consider one of these, that doesn't make any sense. It is an incredible vehicle. It's been around for so long because it is such a good vehicle. Yes, it's a little long in the tooth with its technology and a couple other things, but it is an outstanding, extremely well refined, extremely luxurious, and well put together luxury big SUV. And then at 24 minutes and 35 seconds, he says, it's the ugliest new car on sale. So with that being said, let's just jump over to the Doug score, because the Doug score, he trademarked it. I mean, essentially, not really, but the Doug score is like how he grades his cars, which sometimes I agree with. Most of the time, I find some faults with it, which is fine because it's subjective. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's dig into the Doug score and why it is ridiculous after the claims he made. LX 570 is right here. It scores a 55 overall. Okay, Land Cruiser's right above it with a 57 overall. Styling, that's subjective. I think the LX looks better than the Land Cruiser. Acceleration's exactly the same, that's fine. Handling, I would say the LX is a better handler. Way better steering feel. You can stiffen up the suspension in Sport Plus mode, and it's going to handle better. Fun factor, Land Cruiser more? Well, maybe they're both capable off-road. Land Cruiser is just a little bit more because of the approach angles, but I would say fun factor would be on the Lexus, to be honest. Cool factor, you can put them at the same, that's fine. I would definitely put the LX above it, at least at a 6 or something. I mean, Bentayga is going to be cooler, right? I mean, it's cost way more. You can buy several LXs for a Bentayga or Bentayga, however you want to call it. So that subjectiveness, totally different, all right, on my perspective. Features, it's got way more features than a Land Cruiser. Should be like at an 8 or 9. Comfort, it is above a Land Cruiser. I would put it at a 9, to be honest. Quality, 9 is good. I would probably put it at a 9, not a 10, because of those things that I mentioned with the dials that get scuffed up and the shifter that twists over time. Other than that, everything else is perfect. Practicality, I guess a 9. And value should be about the same, if not better than the Land Cruiser, because it's not that much more when you look at it. Maybe it costs 10% more, but you get way more than just 10% in just features, refinement, comfort, amenities, etc. So there you go. There's my Kirk score, and I would place the Land Cruiser not way below, but probably 5 points below the Lexus. Just overall, the Navigator 6 points above the LX. Maybe. I mean, maybe in terms of the technology. Quality? No. Comfort? No. So there's just a lot of things that I would disagree with because I'm biased towards Lexus. Doesn't mean these vehicles up here are not good vehicles. I think most of them are pretty good, but no one holds a candle to the Land Cruiser or the LX in terms of value and how long your vehicle is going to last. How often you go to the dealership for services. Well, I should say repairs, warranty repairs. Land Cruiser, Lexus, they don't break down. They are man-made. Yes, they can break down. They will break down. If you just do the minimum maintenance, they're going to last you a long time. These other vehicles, I wouldn't own any of them long-term. They're going to start breaking. I was in an Audi today. I know Audi's not on this list. A 2-year-old Audi. The seat, the rear seat with the lever, that moves your seat forward and back. On a 2-year-old, $30,000 was broken. How does a manual seat break after a year or two? That is crazy. I don't know how long it's been broken, but it's broken on a 2-year vehicle. That just blows my mind. That is unacceptable when you're paying $60,000, $70,000 for an Audi. So I've never seen anything like that on a Toyota. I've never seen anything like that, especially on a Lexus. And this video is super long at this point. We're 20 plus minutes in, and we're going to cap it off with the comments, because the comments are pretty darn funny. And these are all the comments on his video. If you can buy a Range Rover, you can drive only in 2 directions. To car service and from car service. It's legendary, so good. From Adam Nasir, Doug, LX is a disappointment. Arabs in Dubai say, cancel their visas. That's also hilarious because this vehicle worldwide is legendary because it is so durable. Richie Camacho, car enthusiasts hate Lexus for everything. Lexus always has the best year in sales year after year. I'd buy this over a Range Rover solely because of reliability. And then there's 3 big ones right here. 95% of Range Rovers sold in the last 5 years are still on the road today. The other 5 made it back home. Hilarious. LMAO, Doug is bashing the price on the text alone. This is a body on frame. That's why it's expensive and the quality is far better than your Range Rover. And then Fernando says, so a 5 in value, same as a Range Rover? Let's talk about depreciation. Exactly, my brother. Simon says, trust me, a Range Rover would be a far bigger disappointment after the 19th warranty repair. That's when it's in warranty. That means it's like 3 or 4 years old, right? Or less. And that's in warranty. That is ridiculous. What happens out of warranty, right? That's why their value plummets, because they break so much. And this is what I say, Doug, when you see this SUV 20 years from now still on the road, you will realize that this review was a disappointment. Also, the 2020 LX will be getting a sport package that changes the grille. If you dislike it that much, the LX is still the king. Cheers. A lot of people comment on that. Most of it was respectable, but I'm not going to get into a comment war on Doug's channel. I'd much rather do it on my own. But what do you guys think? This has been a long video. I'm happy to do these every once in a while. This is brought up from one of my longtime viewers, my early subscribers. He's like, you got to say something. You really are the only voice in the Lexus world. You got to stand up for Lexus. Well, I don't really need to stand up for Lexus, but I just like sharing and pointing out where Doug could be wrong. Now, it's subjective. Everything's subjective. A lot for the most part. It's just my opinions about Doug's opinions. And that's fine. It's free speech. I still appreciate Doug. I love his videos for the most part. He was one of the guys that inspired me to even start this channel. So for that, I'm very grateful. And I will see you guys in the comments below. A monthly giveaway. You can see back there. I'll put a picture of it up there for you. For my Patreon subscribers or Patreon supporters, I'm giving away that LED LFA that is customizable. Has different colors on it. Can you see that? Just turned it to green, no big deal. It's super cool. I will see you guys in the comments below and in the next video. And until next time, peace out.